Hello, everyone. This is Jim Okrasinski with your SA3 instructional video where I record my observations of the proposal assignment. I would like to begin with the actual target assessment. It is writing a proposal argument, and the topic here is a problem you experienced so far in attending community college or a problem about higher education as a whole. Everybody did a great job of sticking to that topic. My inquiry questions here really are: what is the problem and what should be done about it? So your task was to write a proposal essay by integrating outside sources to help resolve a problem you care about in higher education. You can use personal experience as academic evidence to support your argument. The key here is to use your experience as academic evidence, much like you would use a quote from a source. It should be short, to the point. Several of the essay drafts that I've graded over the last week have really kind of transitioned from the proposal argument into the narrative, where the problem revolves all around you, and that's not the assignment. It's supposed to identify a problem in higher education and seek ways to solve it. So your essay must provide evidence for the seriousness of the problem, because you have to establish the seriousness of the problem. It's important because if you want people to solve it, then there should be some evidence to support the impact of that problem. And not only it's an impact that goes beyond you, but also goes into the general population, all college students that are experiencing this problem. So you must demonstrate the seriousness of the problem and for ways to solve it and justify these solutions over alternatives. In order to solve any problem, you must analyze the cause and effects. So I say here you can draw on personal experience, but you must integrate a minimum of 3 outside sources. For this essay, a standard MLA citation is required both in text, and each essay must include a works cited page. And I had many submissions that did not have a works cited page. So the purpose of the proposal is to motivate people to take action. Remember, that is exactly what the proposal argument is, a call to action. In other words, to solve the problem so your audience is fellow college students affected by the problem. These are your peers. Your proposal should be balanced and accurate by avoiding sweeping generalizations or inaccurate assertions. So oftentimes in some of my comments, I have called out your sweeping generalizations. Some of them, sometimes you may have made some inaccurate assertions, and if I've criticized them or comment on them, that is exactly what I might have mentioned. I said, you're making a sweeping generalization, you're not taking other aspects of this particular problem into consideration, or maybe it's a solution. Now, it's designed here to get you to think about what you wrote and what you're thinking and what you're saying. All right, so I want to make sure that everybody has an understanding of those particular comments in your essay. Oftentimes during this essay, everybody makes one sweeping generalization because of their experiences, which may or may not be accurate, especially a topic that has a lot of coverage in this particular assignment for this semester is like online teaching and COVID. Sometimes students have made some really sweeping generalizations and inaccurate assertions about our current environment that may not be fair or even accurate. So be aware of those comments. The proposal must reflect a respectful and informed tone supported by evidence discovered through research. Since the proposal is a persuasive argument, its success relies on avoiding logical fallacies and developing the solutions to the problem. So it is a persuasive argument. So you have to give examples. You have to support your position, your seriousness of your problem through your source material. It is important that you persuade. You want people to take action. The conclusion should be a call to action. So remember now, this was 1,250 to 1,500 words and formatted according to MLA guidelines. So it is a lengthy essay, no doubt about that. So I'm not going to touch on all the different aspects of the writing about problems. However, I do want to spend a little time here in the textbook talking about the organization. So I gave you, once again, a couple of ways to, as a strategy to open your proposal essay. The anecdote, draw on your own experiences in higher education that may provide some context for your problem. Some students did really, really great with this, used their personal experience to establish the problem and the seriousness of the problem. And also some students have provided some additional, the other pathway to an opening, excuse me, is to provide some basic information about the problems. Statistics, situations, you have to provide some background so the reader becomes familiar. So the idea is some people even actually wove the two in there together, which is fine with me. It really worked. But you needed a thesis because this is a proposal argument. So your last sentence of your introduction should be some sort of thesis. If I asked you to think about the thesis, or I might have rewritten one for you, a thesis can be as simple as stating the problem and providing an overview of solutions. Is really a simple way to go about establishing a thesis for this particular essay. So the main section, right? Start dramatizing the problem. The proposal format, what really is the proposal format to make the most impact, is for you to identify and dramatize the problem in order to establish the seriousness and the consequentiality of the problem. The organizational pattern is critical to the proposal structure. So you talk about how serious the problem is, you build it up to the point where the reader like, wow, I really need to see how I could solve this. I want to take action. The idea here is you're supposed to do the show me instead of telling me. And after you establish the problem, then you get into the solutions. This is a problem solution format, and I indicated this in my lecture video. I was looking for that rhetorical shift to the solutions. Some of you did it really, really well. Some people in their organizational structure talked about the problem, and they also talked about the solution in the same paragraph. So instead of a problem solution organizational structure, there was quite a few essays that were problem solution, problem solution, problem solution. Or there were a lot of essays who were just writing all about the problem, and it wasn't the proposal format in tone or in structure. Especially when we integrate sources, oftentimes students will work off those sources, and what they'll do is write me basically a research essay about the problem, and that is not the assignment. The assignment is the proposal argument, problem solution. Okay, so remember, your closing, wrap up your with the reasoning of why your solution would benefit people or society. And if we take a look at using and citing sources, well, let's see, I don't want to go there so much as I want to get to some of the comments. Well, let's see if we can get there. How's that? Let's go to the bookmark and see if I can get there. All right, number one comment that I often made in these in my review of the Essay 3 video, Essay 3 proposal argument, is how sources were used. Some students did extremely well with introducing the sources. Some students kind of struggle with the idea of how to go about introducing a source. I saw quite a few naked quotes where I see a quotation mark, a quote, and there may be a parenthetical at the end of the sentence. That's great for in-text citation, but it really doesn't introduce the speaker. And I say there, introduce the speaker. So the idea here is I want to be able to, I want to know who is attributed to that quote or that information. The idea behind in-text citation is attribution. Who is the speaker? So one of the items that you might see a lot of is introducing the speaker, a comment. The starting and ending points were pretty good throughout all the essay examples. The cross-referencing was a bit of an issue. A lot of students didn't have a clear cross-reference between sources. Some did a really good job. If it was cited in text, I need to see a corresponding citation in your works cited page. And then the format of the works cited page was really, really up and down between all essays. And I'll cover that in a second because I want to get to the appendix to demonstrate what the works cited page should look like here. Oftentimes, if I made a comment, and I'll run through some of my comments in a minute. Let's let's get down to truth, bachelor problem. Let's get to the stress and anxiety one. All right, here, if we're looking at the way the sources were used in a particular essay, what we have is the introduction and quote, then the parenthetical citation that closes a quote off. And I'll talk about how to engage with the author in a minute. I want to get to the works cited page. Okay, so I mean, this should be a visual representation of what a works cited page looks like. I say a great many, probably more than half of the works cited pages that I had submitted with their SA3s were not formatted correctly. So if you had a comment stating your works cited page needs to be formatted, this is exactly how a works cited page should be formatted. So if you look at yours and it doesn't look like this, there is a problem. Sources are organized alphabetically. Okay, it is a works cited. It goes on the next full page, not in the middle of a page. Goes on to the next full page. Citations require to have a hanging indent, which is really kind of easy to do. You have to get in your essay, your GDoc. If you click on the format tools, go to indentation, look up indentation options. It'll give you the hanging indent option there. But if your works cited page does not look like this, then there was a problem with the grading, and you did not earn points for the MLA criteria in the rubric. It's pretty straightforward. If it's not formatted, not organized, it's a pretty important component in your overall grade. So on the works cited, now I want to get to some of my comments, and I know I kind of touched on some of these about the purpose of the assignment already, about how the works cited page is not formatted correctly. But the idea here is, and structurally what I particularly had for some of the essay submissions was that the sources were driving the conversation. And if you had a comment that basically said, you drive the conversation, don't let the sources lead. A lot of people didn't give me a topic sentence or a lead in. I witnessed a lot of paragraphs where that quote hamburger that was talked about in the lecture video was not formulated, in this source or in this article is what led off the paragraph. If your SA3 started 3 paragraphs with no lead in, no topic, no top of the bun, and just went right to the source, and then you summarize the whole source, that's not an essay. That's an annotated bibliography, and I might have made that comment. Also, what was really kind of common is where people always had a conversation with, this quote says, or this article says. So no, when we do in academia, when you have an author, and it's important to always look for authored sources, when you have an author is to engage with the author. First name, then last name. So a comment that was quite popular was that engage with the author, not the article. You lead the conversation here by introducing your speaker comments directly to what the author says. So what you'd have to be able to do, engage with the author, and then avoid language and phrases like this quote or this article says or in this quote or what this quote means. No, if you have an author, then you should gauge what the author says. What Smith is saying here is, and then I agree with Smith, all right? So once again, article titles are in quotation marks and not italics, and there was quite a few with those throughout the review of essay number 3. So I hope this isn't rambling too much. It needs to be a longer video, but these are some of the comments and observations about essay 3 if you're looking to revise essay 3. Handling sources, building quote hamburgers, introducing sources were some of the really common issues. Problem solution format. And remember, this is not about you. This is about the problem. So if I made a comment that you were too much about you in this particular essay, then you need to shift away from that first person and then talk more about how the problem is for everybody, the collective everybody, all right? So I'm hoping that this was able to help everybody if you're looking to revise SA3. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Good luck.